23rd ranked team in the country, and once again it's Damian Dotson leading the way in scoring for the Ducks. He seems to have adjusted to life without Dominic Artis, his fellow freshman. His last two games, 16 points against Utah, 13 against Washington. As for the Cougs, once again, no Mike Ladd. He's going to miss his second straight game with a knee injury. Dexter Kernick-Drew, the redshirt sophomore from Australia. And the first possession to the visitors. Right to the block where Wood sees two defenders. Devontae Lacey gets the assignment on Dotson to start.
It'll be interesting to see Washington State. They start out in man-to-man, but it's a gapping man-to-man. Again, they're giving Lloyd some room. They don't want to give that guy any room, however. Boom!
Bottoms on the first three-point attempt for Damian Dotson. He's a 31% three-point shooter on the season, and even though he has that first make, you think Washington State has to force the Ducks to beat them from there.
Well, they need to take away the drives, take away the inside play, keep Oregon off the glass, and that's why they'll play a little gapping defense.
Washington State coming off a 14 of 28 three-point shooting performance. That was in a loss to Oregon State here earlier this week. How about three in a row when you combine the teams?
Well, let me say something about Oregon. They're a much better basketball team when they're in attack mode, when they can run you in transition, attack you in the half court, and the more they set up, the more they think. To me, that makes them a little bit stagnant and everything. They're much better when they can get out and run and stay in that attack mode.
Dexter Kernick-Drew, the first to miss for either side. Lacey has a new possession. And a skip pass to DJ Shelton. He was instrumental in the comeback that came up just short against the Bees.
There have been a lot of close games up in this building. So again, the records really mean nothing. It's about being ready to play. And you can see Washington State and Oregon are both ready to play in the game.
Ernie, over-under in terms of how long it takes to get our first two.
Well, I'll tell you, it's going to come here pretty quick because that guy with the ball doesn't shoot the ball. Kazemi does nothing but shoot layups and free throws.
Motive in transition. Lacey spotting up again. Boyd brings it down.
Devontae Lacey was on fire in the other game against Oregon State. They're going to need his firepower in this ball game.
Motive on Kazemi. Great matchup. We saw it quite a bit in Eugene in the first meeting between these two teams about a month ago. Woods gets the touch, sends it back out to the three-point line. E.J. Singler starts 1 of 2 from the arc. Early substitution for Ken Bones Cougs. He's going to the freshman, a walk-on, Bryce Levitt, to replace Dexter Kernick-Drew. And Levitt played a career-high 25 minutes against Oregon State here on Wednesday.
Played pretty well, and sometimes in that first game is when you play well. It's the second game where reality sets in. So wait a minute, I'm a walk-on playing before scholarship players. It'll be interesting to see how he plays today.
That's like my golf game. Whenever the snow thaws, I go out and I shoot, 82, and I'm thinking, hey, I figured this out.
Well, you're a little bit better than me. Mine's always wide right.
Well, then I'm in triple digits the second and the third and the 50th time I go out and play that summer.
Oregon's defense on the year has really been good, and that's been the thing that has kept them in a rhythm, even though they haven't shot the ball well. What they did the other night against Washington, holding them to 35% from the field, they played very hard on the defensive end of the floor.
Stifled the Huskies, didn't they? Holding them to 35% field goal. It was 52 points. That was Washington's largest margin of defeat in Pac-12 play, a baker's dozen. And this is another team that Dana Altman and company might be able to shut down. Washington State comes in Pac-12 play averaging just 63 points per. Dexter Kernick-Drew right back in. 1 out of 2 for Shelton, and Washington State an early advantage.
If you watch Lacey again, how he plays Lloyd, they really kind of gap everybody. They want to clog up the middle, make Oregon beat them from the perimeter.
Nearly 3 minutes gone by, still looking for our first 2-point field goal from either side. Shelton with it on the deck, sends it back out to Woolridge. Woods there defensively. Woolridge off a couple of screens. That's another three.
That time Washington State ran a flex cut on the baseline. Dominic Dotson got lost down there.
some contact and the conversion inside. Damian Dotson driving hard, and the freshman will go to the line.
Damian Dotson. The thing about Damian Dotson, you know, he's a very skilled basketball player with the ability to put it on the floor and get to the hole and finish. For a freshman to come in and lead his team in scoring, that tells you a lot about his skill set. You've got to be skilled to do that, not just shoot it, but you got to put it down and score layups. You got to shoot free throws. You got to be able to pass the basketball and understand the game.
Woolridge is 3 of 10 from the field in the first matchup at Washington State. Eugene converts the three-point play and will head to bench as Carlos Emery makes his first appearance, the senior forward. Token pressure from the Ducks. All over Woolridge on the perimeter there. Odom had it taken away. Kazemi in a foot race with Woolridge. And he's not done.
Does he have a pair of hands on him or what? I mean, he's so strong as a basketball player. You're going to have to really take him out to get him and not scoring a layup. And we talk about Oregon's defense. Here again, not only do they play good defense, but they're excellent changing from defense to offense and scoring points. And what a strong finish that was.
Asked Dana Altman before the game, is this player an all Pac-12 first-teamer? Because there's so many great individual talents across the league, it's going to be tough to find a spot for him. And his resolution was, I don't know, but if I'm drawing sides, I want him in my first 5.
Well, he does so many things, and hopefully coaches will look at that and realize what a difference he's made on his basketball team. Only thing is he doesn't shoot jump shots, but he scores so much of offensive putbacks, and he does so many little things on the defensive end of the floor.
Ernie, you're around this Oregon program a lot. They'd actually like to see him be more aggressive offensively.
Well, certainly, you're absolutely right, but his hands are so good on defense. He gets so many steals as he did that time on Brock Odom.
Boyd missing from the perimeter. Shelton brings it away for the Cougs. Whistle away from the basketball.
Communicate and talk the switch.
How do you feel about postcards, Ernie?
Postcards just don't work either. Try playing defense with a cell phone. Doesn't work that way. You got to use your mouth and talk.
Woolridge trying to turn the corner on Singler. Full clock for the Cougs to work with in the offensive half. Woolridge has made his first 2 from distance, that time off the mark. Waverly Austin into the ball game for Oregon, tipped it out, and so Brock Modem and the Cougs will keep it.
I don't think Brock Modem has gotten a shot off yet, and that's a good thing for Washington State because they're in the ball game, and of course Kazemi's going to make it tough on him because he's got those quick hands.
Right, Ernie. Modem yet to attempt a field goal. Dexter Koenig missed the 3. Another offensive rebound, though, for the Cougs.
Oregon is sitting in the zone. You've got to block out. Even in the zone, there's 5 players on offense, 5 players on defense. You've got to get a body on someone.
DJ Shelton shooting it at 40% from the arc this season and does not hesitate.
Now the timeout, which is usually the case. Washington State changes their defense and goes to the zone also. And you'll notice they will gap off of Lloyd. They will pressure Singler and Dotson.
On the block, well inside, weak side to Singler. Emery with a dozen to shoot, takes the 3. Dexter Koenig drew the rebound. Already 4 offensive rebounds for Washington State to create some of those second chance opportunities like the 3 from Shelton. That's already more than they had the entire game against Oregon State midweek. Minus 10 against the Bees on the glass and 3 offensive rebounds. Shelton makes the extra pass. Woolridge wraps it around for 2.
Excellent patience that time by Washington State. Took the shot clock down to the last 3 seconds.
Washington State staying in that zone. Austin on the baseline. Trying to find Lloyd, kicked out by Modem.
When you talk about ball movement and player movement, Shelton does a good job. They draw the penetration, he spots up and knocks down the 3. And then they get an opportunity to take the shot clock down to 3 seconds, and the hard drive by Woolridge on the baseline. The first layup for the finish.
Baseline under for Lloyd. Finds Ben Carter making his first appearance, the freshman forward from Las Vegas.
So you watch Dotson on the floor. They'll put a little bit more pressure on Dotson when he's out there and when Singler's back in the ball game. Emory, they'll pressure, but Lloyd, they're going to sag off. And in doing that, it's going to take away the drive games and take away the post-up game.
Emory missed it from point-blank range. Diorio finally controls with Woolridge for the Cougs. Whistle will go against Johnny Lloyd. To the free throw line goes Royce Woolridge. Join us tonight at 7 o'clock when two of the nation's top gymnastic programs clash in Corvallis. Number 4 UCLA, number 13 Oregon State. It's a primetime showdown live tonight at 7 only on the Pac-12 networks.
So many teams in this conference will get numbers in transition and set up. And that time, Woolridge did the smart thing. They had numbers, they attacked the basket, and they forced Oregon to foul. For Washington State to have a chance in this game, they've got to get easy baskets. And you get that going from defense to offense when you have numbers. They've got to take advantage and try to score the basketball or get fouled.
Woolridge hits a couple. You know, his development, I think, had been overshadowed by that of Mike Ladd in Pac-12 play. Woolridge, after 10 against Oregon State, now is double figures in 5 straight.
But they need a score, but they've got to have at least 3, maybe even 4 guys in double digits to stay with Oregon because they score the ball so well. Right now, these zone defense is keeping the ball on the perimeter, and it's forcing Oregon to make basketball plays, and Emory steps out of bounds. They're going to have to attack this zone by going inside, outside, by the pass or the dribble, but that ball has to get to the middle of the floor and force that zone to collapse.
Turnover the game already for Oregon. Will Diorio joins the Washington State lineup, along with Junior Longley.
Love the ball moving at Washington State. They're doing a nice job of finding the open man.
Royce Woolridge rattles out. Modem sends it back. Another offensive board early for Washington State.
Dotson looks winded on the floor. You look into his face, he looks fatigued a little bit, and sometimes freshmen, they hit that wall and have to kind of figure it out.
Wild shot from Woolridge, but he held packages, links to game schedules, brackets, news, a whole lot more.
With the improvement of this conference this year, that Pac-12 tournament is going to be incredible. When you look at what's going on, this is Joe Lunardi now. He is the guru on this, and he talks about right now, there's 4 teams that he looks at in the tournament. Cal being a 12th seed, being the last team in, ASU is going to be the first team out, and Stanford is the 5th team. It tells you about how improved this conference is, how many teams are in the bubble, and how much more basketball there is to play in this conference that's going to dictate how many teams we get into the tournament. So outstanding conference, greatly improved over last year.
And in these final 6 games, Oregon not only to look to wrap up a conference championship, but you think they're playing for seeding along the way.
Well, they're in the driver's seat right now in terms of a conference championship, and if they can get it done, they can go to the conference tournament totally playing for seeding. If they can come out of this a 2nd or 3rd seed, that's when things are really in your favor in terms of where you get sent to, who you play, and those types of things.
Odom was off the mark with his first field goal attempt. Dotson had the rebound. And Lacey picked up a loose ball foul on the way back down.
But first things first, they're down in this game 19-11 because Washington State has done a nice job of switching up their defenses. They play this 2-3 zone, a gap zone. They sit back, they take away driving lanes, they take away the post-up game as well.
Zemi with the touch at the free throw line.
And we talked about inside-outside ball movement.
Lloyd looking for a way out of the corner. 10 to shoot for Singler and his choice of the on-ball screen. Woods, great catch inside with 5. Trying to follow up his own, and does.
Great job that time by Tony Woods of regaining his composure. That ball has got to go inside. You cannot rely just on jump shooting the basketball against the zone. And even if they get nothing out of it, they let it go in and move the ball, move the zone a little bit.
Lacey curling off the screen to the top of the circle. Off the mark there. Washington State now 4 of 10 from the three-point line. Singler wants to go on Modem, lost control. Boyd back to take on Levitt, and Lacey, who came up short of the dunk attempt.
Well, two things there. The walk-on made the great play. The scholarship player tried to dunk. I don't know if he has that in his repertoire. He probably should just laid the ball in. That ends up being a big possession.
And a big moment here as Brock Modem is down. Right in.
And obviously you're hoping that Modem's all right and able to get back in this game if you're Washington State.
DJ Shelton at the line to take the free throws.
See Dana Altman talking to Austin and Carter there. He needs those two players to step up now because they cannot stay small in this game. Oregon is a big team. That's where they get all the rebounds. And right now they're going down to being a small basketball team. But Austin or Carter is going to have to step up big in this game with no Woods now.
More into the game for Oregon. Junior Longless will take the long two. Emery the board. Emery to the baseline. To a spotting up Dotson. Great find. Offensive rebound Kazemi. Emery sets up Singler. A lot of traffic inside. They're still playing that shot clock. They pull it out. Quick pull from Emery there.
Well, that time Washington State did a good job of scrambling and defending, but EJ did a nice job with the shot fake. He should have stepped in and knocked down that 15-footer. He's so unselfish, tried to make one more basketball play that wasn't on the floor. Next 5 minutes of this game is going to tell you a lot about both these teams. Whether or not Washington State can take advantage of Woods being out, Oregon takes advantage of Modem being out.
Off the 6th offensive rebound of the game for Washington State, Royce Woolridge. He's in double figures.
Well, not only that, you don't have that shot blocker inside right now, so Washington State feels a little bit more confident about attacking the basket. And they sit in his zone. They're going to force Oregon to shoot the basketball. What the zone does, takes away driving lanes, it takes away post-ups. They've got to do a good job of getting bodies on people, though, when the ball goes up, because Kazemi is such a great rebounder, and that ball needs to go inside, outside by Oregon. They cannot live and die by the three.
Levitt the rebound off the miss, triple by Moore. Bone says this freshman walk-on was just decisive with the basketball. It helped them break a lot of Oregon State's pressure the way some of his other guards were unable to do. Rewarded with more minutes here this afternoon.
How about that 1-3-1 of Oregon State? I could have used it a few times when I was coaching because my team really struggled with that 1-3-1 that Oregon State plays.
Lacey off the step back and uses the glass.
Well, not only did he use the glass, that was in 3 feet of the basket again. Understanding not having Woods, the shot blocker on the floor, changes the dynamics of the game.
It's a 15-2 run for Washington State as we go to the under 8 timeout.
Tangled up. The other was an elbow blow to the head. It goes to being a flagrant 2-foul automatic ejection by Tony Woods.
Now, in terms of handicapping this game, obviously a lot at stake for Oregon, the first-place team in the Pac-12. If I had told you that Washington State would be spotted 12 points, Brock Modem is yet to score yet, and Oregon's without its starting center.
I would have said welcome to the Pac-12 conference when we said again, anything can happen. The conference has been like that. 30 games coming into the weekend decided by 5 points or less.
Bernick drew to the baseline. Diorio didn't want the three.
Oregon's going to have to step up with defensive intensity. Somebody on that bench over there is going to have to step up and play well for them because they're one man down. It requires somebody else now to give that opportunity for Woods' points, more so for his presence in the game.
What a find. Lacey, the dime that Diorio couldn't pay off. Lloyd, weak side. Dotson went up and under and had it knocked away.
I'm sure Washington State fans are able to see Brock Modem. Not only is he back, but he makes a great defensive play coming behind for the block. Happy to see him back on the floor. When he went to the locker room, you didn't know if he looked a little wobbly walking to the locker room, but lucky for the Cougars, he's back in the ball game.
State sitting in that zone. Florio, Levitt, Devontae Lacey playing the perimeter along with Dexter Kernick-Drew.
They're going to stay in that zone. Nice job that time of Lloyd by going inside. You can go inside out by the dribble or the pass, but you need to force the zone to kind of collapse. That's what gives you the wide open rhythm jump shots, as opposed to standing up trying to shoot three-pointers over shot pressure.
Emery from Singler, and he's going to the line.
Inside out by the pass or the dribble.
State Farm halftime report is next. UCLA bounces back in the Bay Area. We'll have highlights and analysis and a preview of ASU Colorado as well. Also break down our first 20 minutes here in Pullman between the Ducks and the Cougars. The State Farm halftime report coming up in 6:10 of game time. This is the free throw. You talked about the Ducks hanging in this with their defense, and that's really what they've been doing ever since the loss of Dominic Artis. Adam Jude, who covers this team for the Oregonian, had a nice point in the paper this week about how the Ducks are allowing 62.3 with Dominic Artis in 19 games, 62.3 without DA in 6 games.
Well, if you look at the top 15 teams in the country, they're all averaging about 76 points a game, and they're giving up 62 points a game. So they're right there. They are one of the better teams offensively and defensively. But they're going to be challenged in this game. They're going to have to rise up, and it's hard to win a conference championship. And that's why there hasn't been a lot of different conference champions in this conference. And to do that, they're going to have to win a tough game on the road. That's
offensive. It goes against Emery as Kernick-Drew took the charge.
Emery goes out of control. Kendrick-Drew gets his feet set. And again, this defense of Washington State is forcing Oregon to do things he's not accustomed to do. A guy like Emery, he used to be a guy to just catch and shoot. If he's putting the ball on the floor, having to drive and make basketball decisions, then that's a tough situation to be in.
His second personal foul, 6th on the Ducks with 5.5 to go here in our first half. Woolridge didn't see that second defender coming. Lloyd poked it away, but the Cougs will keep it.
Both of these teams played multiple defenses at that time. Jonathan Lloyd, with the player of his size, we always say if you're a small guy on the floor, you need to be a pest. You need to be all over the floor. You need to get up on people's defenses in the last couple of days and watch UCLA go down, Arizona go down, and move into first place without even playing. Well, now those teams are sitting around watching this ball game, but certainly UCLA has an opportunity to move on.
Dotson in transition, earns 2 at the line.
And let's talk about transition, because when you're a team that's struggling to score, the zone has Oregon standing around struggling to score. Well, your defense can create scoring opportunities, and you can certainly get out and run and get easy basket, easy opportunities. Oregon needs to run more to create easy scoring opportunities, because the zone has them now kind of stagnant on the offensive end of the floor.
Dotson, a 77% free throw shooter on the season. He really slumps in those 4 games following Artis' injury and absence. Single-digit scoring in all of those. He's bounced back with double figures in the 2 wins since.
Well, sometimes when you have your buddy around, life is a little bit easier, and he didn't have his running mate on the floor. Put a little bit more pressure on him, and had to play a few more minutes. He looks a little fatigued for me. And every freshman hits a freshman wall that they have to climb over.
Lacey sets up Woolridge. Levitt has it with 12 to shoot. Now Woolridge with 8, picked up by Singler. Dribbles himself into a 3. Dotson again, quickly the other way, and Longer sent it away.
Let me tell you what's happening in the game. Oregon did a good job that time of switching their defense, but Washington State, you have given them confidence. They're on a roll right now. They've lost confidence late in the game, but early in the game, they played a lot of confidence, and they're feeling it right now.
Now Longers to the defensive glass and hands off to Modem.
Realize they're doing this with the Brock Modem really not contributing in the game on the offensive end of the floor. They've had Woolridge, Lacey, they've all stepped up to play big minutes and hit big shots.
Modem is 0 of 2 from the floor. Woolridge has 17 to lead all scorers. Here's Lloyd with the pull-up. Lacey brings it down. 3-on-1 for the Cougs. Levitt, the walk-on freshman.
Need a timeout by Oregon because right now, great confidence. I'm happy that he gets the opportunity to play.
I believe Oregon only has one made field goal since the Woods ejection. Now chasing 15 as Richardson into the game for the first time turns it over on the baseline.
Well, the ejection has completely knocked Oregon out of rhythm and has given Washington State some great confidence, particularly to drive inside. And no different than when they lost Artis, it knocked them out of rhythm. Now they've lost Woods, and they let this guy get going. They're going to really be in for a long afternoon.
First points for Brock Modem. Meanwhile, look out at the other end. Emery from Lloyd.
When we talk about transition defense, it's in Washington State's control to get back, and that's a great reason why, because you let this team start to run, and I think Oregon needs to do more of that.
Let's settle things down here on the parquet in Pullman. Woolridge trying to bring him right back to life. Points in the first half for Royce Woolridge.
Not only does he bring him back, but who made the play? Levitt, the walk-on, drives into the lane as Emery gets another three. 2 back-to-back baskets by him.
He's got 6 points for the Ducks. More than 2.5 to go in our first half.
Ben Altman getting after Lloyd, telling him he's got to stay tight with Woolridge. You got to get up into him. Don't lose him. Don't let him get open looks. You can't give a guy with that kind of rhythm any kind of opportunity to shoot the ball.
Emery this time rips it away and goes right to the rim.
Third bucket in a row for Emery. You see Lloyd, he's going to face guard Woolridge the rest of the game. He's going to take himself out of help and just totally focus on Woolridge. I always say it looks like junior high school defense where you see young players just face guard their guy. That's what he needs to do to eliminate his touches right now, because Woolridge is playing at a totally different level in this game with his confidence.
Levitt left alone. Tried to find Modem on the roll. Longris has it. He's piled up. And they are going to charge Emery with a foul, and that's his third.
Well, and he needs to count. They get stops and try to cut this thing down to single digits. That would be huge if they could do that. Then you can go into the locker room and regroup from the loss of Woods and come back out a different basketball team.
Johnson against 2 defenders. Back to Lloyd at midcourt. E.J. Singler, Arsalan Kazemi, and Waverly Austin there too.
Well, Ken Bona always changes his defense, and that time they trapped on the wing coming out of the timeout. Oregon needs to know that. He always does a little different wrinkle coming out of the timeout, and they call him sleeping. Good job by Jonathan Lloyd.
Dropped it over the sideline.
That's what I meant about being a pest. You've got to be somebody that disrupts the game when you're a smaller player on the floor. Jonathan Lloyd's quickness that time really bothered Lacey in terms of his ability to handle the ball. Dana Altman wanted Lloyd to get up into those ball handlers more, get up into Lacey, and obviously not lose contact with Woolridge.
Big turnover the first half for Washington State. Back into the game. At the top of the zone. Dotson splits 2 defenders. Loose ball rebound. Kazemi controls. Chance to get 2 for 1 here if they want it.
Good job of Dotson getting inside. That ball needs to go inside by the pass and dribble. That's when good things happen against the zone. Inside out, it gets a better rhythm.
So it'll send Singler to the free throw line where he is nearly automatic. And if they can get a stop, get a defensive rebound, would conceivably have the last possession of the half.
Exactly. Get an opportunity to get it to single digits. And again, when we say inside, it can go into the free throw line area. It doesn't necessarily have to go inside to the post, but anywhere in the middle of the zone to get heads to turn towards the ball, get the zone to collapse. Then you go out, then comes penetration, then comes the kicking of the basketball, and it gives you a better rhythm offensively.
E.J. Singler with 4 points, and a nice note for him individually, catching Riddenauer for 14th on Oregon's all-time scoring list and passing him with that second free throw.
Well, if he caught Rid, it's a huge note, because Riddenauer was an incredible basketball player. He was the player in my years at Oregon that really turned our program. He took us from the clubs into the gym late at night, and that's when it turned. The mentality of the team turned, and we started having so much success.
Or just grabbed Levitt by the hip right there at midcourt. Both teams in the bonus, so the freshman will be at the line.
Again, Levitt for a walk-on. What a smart, heady basketball play. He felt the pressure coming, turned, and put it on the floor. He forced the contact and gave himself a chance to get 2 points at the free throw line.
Talking about it from the Oregon perspective, hoping to get it back to single digits. Not an insignificant free throw there by the wobbly-kneed freshman either. One out of two. Kazemi fights off Modem for the rebound. Boy with a full head of steam. Dotson will back it out.
Washington State is in what I call the European zone here, man-to-man, but they switch all over the place. It almost looks like a zone because they end up switching so much. They got Brock Modem up top guarding Dotson this time. There's the big bucket that they needed to get this thing to single digits. And now they need a defensive stop without fouling.
Shot clock turned off, final seconds of the first half from Pullman. Royce Woolridge, a new career high 22. All in the first half. How about it?
Right in the game, controlling those things that are within their control.
Not only do they have this 38-27 lead, but Brock Modem has scored all of 2 points. Royce Woolridge doing the heavy lifting with a new career high 22 to match his jersey number, and he's got the ball here.
Well, let's talk about what Oregon needs to do, because they need to tighten up their defense so they can get some easy transition buckets, which will help their shooting percentage. And not only that, it'll give them an opportunity to rebound the ball maybe out in transition from some of those misses.
Great defense by Kazemi. He locked up Modem there. Started the game in the man-to-man, also start the second half, but you would expect to see a lot more zone.
Well, you're definitely going to see it at that first time out, because Ken Bone always changes his defenses after a timeout, tough situation.
Ken Bone wanted to tie up there. He won't get it. Dexter Koenig-Drew called for reaching in. That's his first personal.
Well, I think it's time for the official to have just a little bit of a conversation. We walked in and talked about it that time.
Dotson picked up and bumped off by Modem initially. Gets a clean look at three, and that's how the second half begins for the Ducks with a stop and a three.
Well, it started the first part of the game, too, and he hit the big three to start the game. He's going to have to be a player to really start to take control of the game offensively to give Oregon an opportunity to get back in this game.
Looks like they called it two, so 38-29 as Modem tied up. Another one and done at the offensive end for Washington State. Dotson hunting another. Singer on the offensive glass, and there's another foul on Koenig-Drew. And a technical against Ken Bone.
When you talk about two players that play international basketball, and I talk about flopping and trying to sell, that time they both tried to sell the play. You had the two floppers flopping.
Singer made the first free throw on the technical. And so it's been all Oregon here in the first minute and a half or so, just the way they wanted to start this comeback bid.
Well, Washington State misses at one end. Damian Dotson knocks down a bucket. They lose the jump ball. They get the play on Singler here where he goes back to Oregon, and now they get the technical. Right now, coming out of the locker room, Washington State is taking the momentum out of the game themselves and giving it to Oregon. They need to settle down and let the game come back to them.
Again, left wing, 17 to shoot as he sends it back to Lloyd. Kazemi out to Singler, steps into a three.
There's just a big mistake here, because why would you guard Kazemi that doesn't shoot the basketball that tight and give an opportunity to drive, and then suck in and put two guys on him and leave a wide open Singler who loves to shoot the three wide open. Again, Washington State's come out of the locker room making some key mistakes in this game.
First 7 points of the second half to the Ducks. Modem gets his team back on level footing. About how the Ducks offense is just bogged down without Dominic Artis. So we've seen it here a little bit in the half-court set.
Well, it's bogged down because the teams are going against them is sagging into the middle, and you're so used to seeing Singler driving, Damon Dotson driving the ball. You see Kazemi driving the ball, and when you can sag off, you take away all those drives, and you take away the post-up game.
Dexter Kernick-Drew answers E.J. Singler.
And once again, the official has to talk to Modem and Kazemi. They both try to sell fouls. And I'm not being negative with them. I'm just talking about they're used to playing international basketball, and that's a part of the game. The flopping, the selling of calls, the selling of the official.
They're trying to step in the passing lane there. Singler with a big step through and the finish.
E.J. Singler, Damon Dotson have both come out the locker room being a lot more aggressive offensively. Washington State needs to go back to that zone and keep those two players from driving into the middle. 9
straight points for Singler when you count the technical free throws. Kernick-Drew, not this time. How about that pass for the rebound by Dotson? Impressive. Between the legs, Singler, he'll send it Dotson's way. Got the board, got the triple.
That's a two, he had his foot on the line, but again, Washington State, what they've done, they've allowed Oregon to get back into an offensive rhythm. You throw a pass between the legs, and then Singler gives up the shot, passes to the open man, who knocks down the jump shot. Those are rhythm offensive players now. They've given up the momentum of the game.
Jordan draws front iron, Singler the board. Thanks for keeping an eye on this near side corner for me, by the way. You got a much better vantage point on that.
I'm sitting a little bit higher in the saddle than you, that's why.
Cougs flipping to their zone now is Kazemi. Looks inside, weak side. Dotson back iron. Flank for the board. Kazemi wins it.
Kazemi has so much feel for the game in terms of where the ball is going to be, how to go get the ball, how to knock it out of your hand. Very experienced basketball player. You can see where he's played a lot of basketball again at a much higher level.
Great pull there by Dotson, and they're back within one. Where do you look if you're Washington State? Stem the time.
Well, you got to go to Brock Modem, I think. You know, they've done a good job now locking up Woolridge. Run to get back into this game. Washington State has allowed Oregon to get back its rhythm offensively, and now we've got a ball game again that may come down to the last 4 minutes of the game.
11-point halftime lead, all but gone here as Woolridge has it. Only a full shot clock to work with. Shelton working against Kazemi, and Lloyd dug down to steal it away.
There he is again, that guy that's been a pest on the floor. You dig down on the big guys, you chest up the guards.
Waverly Austin knocked over Modem and cleaned up his own.
Oregon regains the lead. That's a long way to come back from losing Woods on the floor. Washington State getting fired up, gaining all the momentum in the game to where the Ducks have the lead, and the momentum is in their favor right now.
Their first lead since it was 11-10, and Modem quickly takes it back.
I'm surprised because I thought Washington State coming out that last time out would switch up their defenses and go back to the zone and do something a little different, get Oregon to stand around a little bit more, because they've got a rhythm going right now. They're scoring against this man-to-man. They need to mix it up a little bit.
Shelton hits the glass to grab that Austin miss. Both teams seem to be comfortable playing at a very deliberate pace in the half court. Set up Modem, and he gets a catch in deep. Up against two Ducks, and 2 free throws to follow.
To me, that's where the game is right now for Washington State. They need to play through Modem a little bit more because Oregon has made the adjustments, and they're pressuring Woolridge right now, pressuring Lacey. They're not giving them open looks, so they play behind in the post. That's how you relieve the pressure, by going inside, especially if a team is going to play behind in the post. You always have a pressure relief guy sitting inside.
Charge that foul, the help side defender, Waverly Austin, that's his first. Also the first of the half on Oregon. There, Carlos Emery. Bryce Levitt, meanwhile, comes in for the Cougs.
Emery scored those 3 quick buckets and got into a little bit of a tussle. He's been out of the game for a long time now, from the first half till now. See if he can be that guy that gets another spark going again on offense.
Kazemi trying to be that spark in transition, instead turned it over. Woolridge surveying and finding Dexter Kernick-Drew. That's a 3. Singler, right back.
So much for being content to stay in the half-court play, delivering offense. Those last 2 minutes have been up and down again, and I think the game with both of these teams, to give themselves an opportunity to get easy buckets, they need to get out and run, because they both do a pretty good job defensively, mixing it up. Get out,
Johnson matched up on Levitt. Shelton just hunts that three-point line. It's become his most comfortable shot. Emery comes out with it. He's playing with 3 fouls. Singler from 24. Shelton brings it down. Look at Washington State. Is it worth giving Dexter Kernick-Drew a touch, see if he can pick up a 4th on Emery? Right now, he picks up Levitt.
Well, it certainly is, but you need to do it out of a set play where you're going to really attack him and understand that he's got the 3 fouls and go right at him. Kernick-Drew is a jump shooter.
9th made 3 of the game for Washington State.
Now, realize this is the Washington State team that hit 6 straight 3 this season.
Oregon started on a 14-5 run to begin the second half to close the gap. Washington State with a 9-3 push of their own. Emery spins off of Longless.
Washington State wants to stay in that man-to-man, and Emery said, give me the ball. I can take my guy.
Emery now in double figures with 10 points.
Back up, Dad! Back up!
Levitt doesn't look for his perimeter shot, but will put it on the deck and go. And he'll be at the free throw line when we come back. Saddled in partners in foul trouble. That's kept his playing time down. Meanwhile, Levitt at the free throw line can send us back to a 2-possession lead.
Well, he's given Emery's given the right performance, because not only is he scoring, he's got the emotional dunks, the transition skill on defense. That can give a team a lot of confidence on the road. You've got to play with confidence, and you need those sparks like that. He's been the difference in the game in the first half. E.J. Singler, Damon Dotson have been the difference in the game in the second half.
There is Emery with the touch, picked up by the much taller D.J. Shelton. Kazemi off to Dotson. Nice down screen to set up that jumper, and Kazemi goes right to the offensive glass.
Well, when he got his hands on the ball, in my mind, I'm saying, I'll tell you who's going to win that battle. This is no contest between him and Shelton. He's so much more stronger than the players on the floor. And I don't know whether that's because he's more mature, that again, he's played tougher competition, so he's had to play a more physical game every single possession. But when he gets his hands on rebounds, that's his rebound. Nobody's going to get it away from him.
So you're telling me he probably wins the arm wrestling Pac-12 basketball competition?
I would put my money on him.
Look at what he does when he's not busy in the scoring column. Just a small handful of players in Division I had more rebounds than points.
Well, the more impressive thing, that's this season. He's going to end up being a career double-double guy. And that's hard to do. I mean, from Bryce to here, his rebounds, his points, not many players can say they're going to be double-double for their career.
Interesting to note that 3 of those 4 players in D1 college basketball all hail from the Pac-12. Levitt spinning off Dotson, who recovered to get a piece.
Because again, how much improved this conference is. It's got veteran players, it's got young talent in the conference, continuity in the coaching in the conference right now. Excellent chance to get 5, maybe 6 teams into that NCAA tournament.
Back to their man-to-man defense here. A dozen to shoot for Emory. Lloyd with 6. Now Singler. Back out to Lloyd, who has no choice. Kazemi again, hands on it. And right back to the free throw strike.
You know, for a guy that averages 9 points a game and to never shoot a jump shot. I think I saw him in the 5 times I've done Oregon's games. I've seen him shoot the ball 1 time, and that was like at a half court, throw it up before the end of the half. But yet, when you look at his numbers, 8.9 points, he's 60% because everything steal, dunk, rebound, putback, and then it gets him to the free throw line where he can score so well. And then the thing about it is he's outstanding with all the intangibles of the game. He sees the play before it gets there. Very, what we call, smart, heady basketball player in terms of his basketball IQ at both ends of the floor.
Longris and Levitt both leave. Again, they're giving Ken Bone good minutes because his bench is short-handed. No Mike Ladd again for the 2nd time this week. Kazemi doing work at the free throw line. He's a 70% shooter. His team back within 1.
Oregon goes to that, what we call pester press, where they really don't double team you yet. They just force you to handle the basketball, and obviously it shortens down the shot clock in the half court. And then from time to time, they'll throw it on where they trap you in it. The multiple defenses has really played great dividends for them this season.
Vernick Drew with 10 to shoot, lost his dribble. Woolridge harassed by Lloyd with 6.
Well, he has to be. You can see he's been shut down. I don't think he has a bucket this half until they let him get away, but they've done a good job of paying close attention to him. Lloyd has harassed him. When they do switch, Kazemi gets a big old hand up on that last shot. Excellent defense that time by Oregon. And Kazemi, he just stays active on the ball. Here's the communication on the switch, and then he knows the shot clock's going down. They need the foul. Just make him think about it. Great job defensively that time on a player that was lights out in the first half.
Backdoor lob. It's Emory again, and a chance to take the lead, but just a bit too high.
That was a set call by Dana Altman after that last dead ball, and they had it all set up. It was right there. I think Lloyd's eyes got really big because he thought it was going to be a monster dunk and just put too much on the pass.
I'm not sure he knew he could overthrow Emory the way he gets up. Vernick Drew.
Lack of communication on that switch and gave Drew a good look.
Bowden was there for the offensive rebound, but it just tipped the rim one more time, allowed Oregon to come away with it. Dotson going his way in. Rebound Cougs.
Washington State is starting to run a lot of single staggered screens. They're bringing up Carnage Drew off of screens. They look to bring Lacey up off the screens. Very important that Oregon starts to communicate more just on the screen action on the floor.
Woolridge and the Cougs will keep it 16 to shoot.
They don't want to foul because Emory manhandled Lacey coming off that screen that time and just took him out of the play.
Already has a technical to his name in this contest. Waverly Austin in for the Ducks. Dotson will get a break. Michigan State gave up the lead briefly at 44-43. Took it right back, and they've held it since. Woolridge draws the whistle.
But this game is going to go down. It's going to be just like the other games that we talked about. 30 games that have been decided by 5 points or less. But this game is going to go down to the last 2 minutes of the game. It's got the feel of it already. And it's going to be who can knock down free throws, guard play. Coaching is going to put a premium on officiating as well. All in the last 2 minutes of the game to see who has the ability to close it out.
First point of the second half for Woolridge, who posted 22 in our first 20 minutes.
Both of these teams have struggled to close out games, too. It's going to be interesting to see which team has the ability to do it.
Lloyd on the bounce pass. Austin, the rendezvous at the rim with Shelton and Kernick Drew, but on the third time he gets it.
Good job by Austin staying with the play. Had it blocked not once, not twice, and finished on the third one.
Lacey off the Shelton screen. Pick to pop and take it. Tipped up and in, but they'll wave it off. Kernick Drew on the back. Lacey with a 1-point advantage. They've lost 6 straight against ranked opponents, including an 0-4 mark this season. Chance to pick off the Ducks here at home.
Ken Bone switches up his defense coming out that last timeout, and he does go to the zone to try to neutralize this Oregon team who's been pretty effective in terms of driving to the basket.
Lloyd skips it to Singler. Doesn't his shoot as he's at the free throw line. Emery. Lacey the board.
You have always got to have a man call and a zone call coming out of a timeout versus Washington State, because Ken Bone typically switches up his defense.
Odom to the top. Pass deflected, but Shelton has it. And on the reach, it'll go against Kazemi. That's his first. Fourth of the half on Oregon. Woolridge, Shelton, Modem, Lacey, and Levitt, the 5 for Washington State. And how about that off the baseline inbound?
I don't know, but I looked at Coach Stubblefield on the bench over there. He did his James Brown imitation because he could not believe they just left him open and let a guy that just tortured you in the first half step to the corner in Woolridge and get a 3-point shot.
Singler, right back.
And it was Singler that lost him, so he makes up for it with the big 3. You always want to do something positive at the other end when you make a mistake. Coaches tend to really like that, when you can make a mistake and then come back and make up for it.
Singler's got 22 off his season high. Levitt thinks he has a mismatch against Kazemi, who actually moves his feet very well.
Not only that, Levitt needs to be careful because Kazemi has such strong hands and gets his hands on so many steals.
Oregon has one here. Lloyd at the head of the pack, drops it off to Emery, and it went in!
Now that was one of the most unorthodox 2-pointers you'll ever see in terms of it going in, but again, you talk about a team that gets in rhythm. Lloyd with another between the leg pass. You got great defense by Oregon, and when you have good defense and you get somebody to throw the ball away, you need to go make them pay. Get out and run, go make a play at the other end. You see the pass between the legs, the rim is slammed right there, and then the bucket still goes in because you tried to dunk the basketball, grabs the rim. That's okay to do, and the ball goes in anyhow.
That's the 3-point play. There's a second foul on Woolridge, and now the Ducks apply some full-court pressure.
Again, that pressure is just to make Washington State handle the ball, and you got Lloyd back on Woolridge. Let's see if he stays body tight, takes himself out of help, and just keeps vision on Woolridge.
Levitt should have gone up with that the first time. Shelton had him.
Great fake by Modem.
Lacey fakes to the corner, misses everything. Emery catches, shoots. Shelton pulls it down for the Cougs. Running with Woolridge. And a whistle on the pass off.
Looks like Emery had a little hack from behind on the play right here, but it always amazes me. You had a guy like Lacey that had an open man in the corner where teams tend to fake to an open shooter and shoot the basketball under pressure. And Zimmy got a good shot pressure up on him, but he should have made the extra pass in a game. And you've got to have the ability to close out games because there's so many close games in the conference.
He's clearly trying to get Woolridge a look off of that inbound. He sets up Levitt, who didn't want it.
Saw it again with DJ Shelton. Faked to an open Woolridge. Now, why would you fake to him and not give him the ball and let him shoot a 3 the way he's played this game?
Kazemi and Modem. Deflected and stolen away by the Ducks.
Good job by Austin that time to get his hands on the basketball.
9 turnovers aside as we're inside of 5 minutes to go.
Again, you can see where Levin is gapping, playing off of Lloyd, and then doing that, they can clog up the middle and take away the drive game.
Lloyd just inside the free throw line and the largest lead of the game for the visitors.
Excellent job of attacking that time by Lloyd. The teams give you an opportunity to shoot the ball, you've got to make them pay.
8 unanswered points for the Ducks. Lacey, Woolridge, and the Cougs have led the majority of the way, and he's knocked down attempting a 3.
Well, 2 threes on that. Number 1, Woolridge should have made the extra pass to Shelton. Number 2, in Austin, you never, ever, ever foul a jump shooter. Never. You just put pressure on them. You cannot run over a shooter, particularly a shooter that shoots the ball as well as that and get to that foul line and make the free throw.
3rd personal on Austin, 6th on the Ducks in his second half. Woolridge came into tonight a 75% free throw shooter in his redshirt sophomore season.
Washington State's had a lot of games this year where they've led. It's going to be very important that they close out the game. We talked about it's going to come down to the last 4 minutes, and sure enough, here we are in a ball game with the score sitting at 63-62, a 1-point Oregon margin right now. It's going to be very important who can close the next 2 minutes and then the last 2 minutes of this game, because both of these teams have struggled to close out games as of late.
Just hounding E.J. Singler away from the basketball defensively. Emery wants to go on Shelton. On the pull-up, talks it down.
Well, they're giving him shots, believe it or not, and he's the one player that has enough confidence in himself to step up and shoot the basketball, and certainly answers the call right there with a wide-open jump shot. He knocks it down.
15 points now for Emery. They see off to Shelton.
One in the floor, you see them guarding Shelton tight, Woolridge tight, don't want to give him any free looks.
Woolridge trying to turn on Singler and converts.
How about Lacey having the career night against Oregon State? Now Woolridge is coming back and having a career night against Oregon.
32 points to lead all scorers. Inside of 3 to play. Picking his way along the perimeter, chooses Singler. Does it on the shot clock against Koenig-Drew. Koenig-Drew getting in that passing lane, knocks it out of bounds. It'll be Oregon.
Washington State, they've gotten back into this game with E.J. Singler, Damian Dotson. Carlos Emery put more pressure on Washington State by attacking them in the half court.
Dotson with the catch and 6 to shoot on the inbound. Leaves it for Kazemi. Beautifully done.
Excellent play by Damian Dotson, the freshman, to recognize he had 2 guys guarding him when he went up. Does a nice job of finding Kazemi for the easy layup. Washington State's got to get stops coming down the stretch.
Dexter Koenig-Drew caught up in the air but found Woolridge. Pushed off the block by Kazemi, still has his dribble. Spinning to the baseline and a lot of contact.
And again, the 2 floppers flop to the floor. For a freshman to understand, this is what I mean by skill set. He gets up in the air and spots the open player. While he's at the top of his jump shot, ready to shoot the basketball. Most players can't make that type of adjustment. They just let it fly. But Damian Dotson not only finds him, but gives Kazemi the right pass, right in the right position to catch and score himself.
Kazemi's really been bothering Modem at the defensive end. Just 7 points for the Cougs' leading scorer, who's been in double figures every game so far this season. Just 7 to his name as he steps to the line here.
Modem and Kazemi, though, by the end of this game, they're going to go from being floppers to flipper because they've fallen on that floor so much.
Modem gets the second. It's a 2-point game, just over 2 minutes to play. Emery hounded by Shelton and a whistle. Ducks are in the bonus. They'll be at the line.
No reason to put that kind of pressure on Emery. He's a guy that you need to put an arm out on him to make sure you're there to pressure his jump shot. But what he really likes to do is put it on the floor. And that time, a little bit too much pressure by Shelton and picks up the foul.
Emery from the stripe, 74% on the season.
Remember, the last 2 minutes of the game, it's free throw shooting, it's coaching. It puts a premium on point guard play, officiating, and which team has the ability to get stops.
Singer leading the way, but a good supporting cast with Dotson and Emery, who nails 2 clutch free throws, and the lead pushed back to 69-65, a 2-possession game.
And again, 30 games in this conference have been decided coming in this weekend by 5 points or less, and a number of them have come down to the last 2 minutes of the game, and we have another one here. As Brock Modem steps and gets a shot. He's not been effective offensively in this game whatsoever.
Shot clock for Woolridge and company, but ticking down towards 90 seconds to play. Trying to establish Modem again up against Kazemi. Shelton left alone, so he shoots it. Big rebound, Emery.
And notice we talked earlier in the show about Oregon and its defense, how it's starting to tighten up these last couple of sessions. They are getting their stops. And on a possession-by-possession games, they're getting stops and need a bucket or a free throw with the layup in the last 2 free throws to put a gap in this game.
Lacey all over Dotson. Gets help from Singler.
Good job by Oregon to run the clock and take this thing down, try to get a bucket here. This would be a huge possession for them if they can score here.
Lloyd inside a minute. Emery. Not that time. Modem and the Cougs still alive.
They're alive, but they got to score the basketball here. This is going to be big if they score and get back and get a defensive stop.
Woolridge against Singler. Missed with the left. He'll have 2 free throws.
Nice job this time of Woolridge. They took away the 3-point shot by putting the pressure on him. What does he do? He goes hard with the spin and draws the foul by E.J. Singler. 2 free throws, great defensive stop, puts the ball in their hand to tie or win the basketball game.
Costliness on the front end there by Woolridge.
Free throw shooting, point guard play, stops, puts a premium on it in the last 2 minutes of games. There's been so many close games in this conference. Just Tim Bone takes Dotson and the 2 guys to come get this basketball.
That's exactly what happens. They get it into Singler. Drew clearly doesn't want to offer the foul, but finally has to.
Well, he has to because, again, you can't let them take valuable seconds off the clock. You want to extend the game, make it as long as possible. So you give him the free throws. If he knocks down 2, you can get a quick 2 or a wide open 3 and go back to fouling again. You've got to extend the game to give yourself every opportunity to close the gap with Oregon. For Oregon, free throw shooting obviously is going to be the premium here. Knock down your free throw, get your stop, knock down your free throws, and get out of here with a W.
2-possession game, and E.J. Singler at the line. If he can help earn the Ducks a win, it would be his 82nd career, most in program history. Got both, no surprise there. He's at 80.
To extend the game, and obviously you take an on-balance wide open 3 as well.
Woolridge in the backcourt with Diorio, Dexter Koenig, Drew Bryce Levitt, Brock Modem as well.
Got to move down that court much faster. You got to extend this game. Here comes the quick 2, hopefully by Washington State. No, they get the wide open 3.
Modem knocked down. Second time in this second half, Oregon has fouled a 3-point shooter.
Well, I'm going to say this again. Kazemi, Modem, excellent at flopping. He does a good job at selling this. Does get him on the hand, but obviously doesn't knock him down, but he does give him on the hand. These 2 players, they're so smart because of playing competitively in international basketball, where you flop, you sell the foul, you understand all the little intangibles in the game. And Modem, Kazemi are 2 of the best in this conference.
Third to follow here.
That's 2 valuable missed free throws. We talked about a premium on free throw shooting in the last 2 minutes. You get another miss after Woolridge missed. Now Modem misses one. This could have very easily been a one-point game.
Winds up being a 2-point trip, but takes an awful lot off the clock. And with 17.7 left, it'll be Lloyd's turn at the line.
DJ Singler looks like he turns his ankle on trying to just get open there. He's been so banged up at times this year, and Oregon can't afford to have another player go down in this long, grinding season that they're trying to close it out and get a conference championship, go into the tournament and play for seeding. But that's a tough young man right there. He's not coming out of the games, I can guarantee you that.
Lloyd playing with the banged-up right hand. He suffered a count. This is the first free throw attempt.
The last 2 minutes puts a premium on your free throw shooting. That's the third missed free throw by these two teams in the last 2 minutes of the game. You've got to have the ability to close out game. One way to do that, knock down free throws.
Missed them both. Chance for Washington to tie.
One possession game, they're going to take a timeout pretty quick with whatever they do here.
Just over 15 seconds. Shelton to inbound. Woolridge there with it. Odom, Lacey, and Kernick Drew on the floor for the Cougs. Lacey will get the first look. And tie the game! Lloyd with 6. Timeout Oregon.
I don't know if he's skilled enough to put it down and go drive. Dotson, Singler, both skilled enough to go drive. And they go to Dotson for the win.
Front iron, Singler a second chance. Hangs on the rim and falls off. Games. That was the biggest. Shelton wins the tip. 5 more minutes from Pullman. The Cougs with the first possession. Shelton picked up by Kazemi. Powers his way to the block. Singler brings it down.
Got to understand again, we're in this position by the 2 missed free throws by Jonathan Lloyd that gave Washington State life. And this game again will be in that situation where you're going to have to make free throws and have great guard play down the stretch.
Dotson at the free throw line, hands off to Singler. Split 2 defenders, takes the contact, but it's offensive.
Several times this year that shot clock has gone down. It's been in the hands of E.J. Singler to make a play, particularly in these last 3 or 4 ball games here, and ends up getting the charge there. The one knock on Oregon is who is their go-to guy? Who is that guy that could make that basketball play? And I believe it's Dominic Artis sitting on the bench. Not only can he make the play, but he can make the pass that makes the play. The way it is right now, it's putting a lot of pressure on players to have to drive, dribble, and make basketball plays.
Woolridge ripped it away from Kazemi and then gave it away.
Great job by Damon Dotson that time to shoot the gap for the steal.
Emery defended by Kernick Drew. Turned it over.
That's your 3rd big turnover in overtime by these 2 teams.
Lacey will go to the line.
Both of these teams have had a hard time closing out games. You get E.J. Singler turning it over at one end. Washington State turns over at the other end, and then Emery comes back and turns it over again. It gives Devontae Lacey a chance now to knock down free throws and take the lead in this game.
His first attempt of the night goes begging. Overtime at 3:32. Emery picked up by Modem on the switch. Now it's Dotson rotating to Lloyd. Short clock here, 8 to shoot. Crossing over on Woolridge, tough kiss off glass.
Tough shot, but a very good play as the shot clock goes down by Jonathan Lloyd.
Just his 2nd field goal of the game. It puts his team on top in overtime. And look out here, Emery with the right-handed hammer.
How about the spark Emery has given his team today? He had the 3 buckets in the first half that brought Oregon back when they needed some life. And now here he is in the second half. He's made some big plays, and that was a big one in overtime.
19 points for Emory. Lacey hit the three to help get us here. Has Modem in front of him going up against Singler. Kazemi on the double. Swats it away and controls.
Good job that time by Oregon by double teaming the block. Double team Modem on the block. Completely caught him by surprise. And Kazemi makes the great block.
And Altman calls the set from his sideline. 2-minute mark in overtime. Singler knocked Modem to the deck. Another turnover. Woolridge has this one.
Oregon needs to put the ball in the hands of Damian Dotson curling up over the screen, because if I'm Washington State, I'm looking for Singler to make the plays. I'm going to line up to take charges against him driving into the lane. So again, you need to make somebody else make a basketball play. And this time Emory goes on the steal and has the big dunk coming from behind. Big play at a big moment in this game.
4 fouls. Modem at the free throw line. Chance to cut into a 3-point deficit after an aggressive take.
Here we go again, back on the line, putting the premium on free throw shooting in this game.
Now 5 of 8 at the line tonight is Modem. Somehow, some way, he manages to get into double figures, as he has in every contest for the Cougs this season.
We call that being a player. He is a player. He's going to get his points. Players find a way to get it done as Washington State comes back on defense, and they're denying E.J. Singler the ball.
Lacey in the hand, face of Dotson. There's Emory trying to leave it to Kazemi, who chased it down in the corner. Singler with the catch, and he's fouled by Lacey with 5 to shoot.
And that's when you have to understand the game. I mean, it was a pass they didn't get. You got to know the shot clock was going down as Kazemi went out of bounds for the hustle hard to get his hands on it. But here, you just let them catch now and play ball. You don't need to come underneath. Make them have to make a play with less than 5 seconds on the shot clock. You put a guy on the free throw line, and one of the best free throw shooters in the conference, by the way.
7 of 7 tonight at the line. Missed the second. It's a 2-point game, 1:14 to play.
Need to keep tabs on Lacey and Woolridge, the two players that have buried Oregon here in the second half as Lacey gets a look.
Emory only flat skying for that crucial rebound with 1:01 to go. First on Modem, a foul on the rebound there. Is that necessarily a bad foul and that it stops the clock?
Well, it depends on if he makes or misses the free throws. Because if he makes them,
we're going to hold off on
they have a 4-point lead, and it was a bad foul, 4-point lead, and you get another stop and go down to score, 6-point lead, the game could be over. If he misses these now, you come down to score, the game's tied, we can call it a good foul.
So far, so good for Emory. He's missed 3 free throws already. They sit on a new career high, 20 points. Dotson an offensive rebound at a crucial time.
How about this big game? 2 guys, one on each team having career nights. Emory and Woolridge. That's a big rebound by Damian Dotson, because it gives Oregon an opportunity now where they can go up big in this game. They're up 3 now, get a chance to go up 5 or 6 with the 3. And not only that, taking valuable seconds off the clock.
Altman wants to. Kazemi the first touch. Emory losing control, still 4 to shoot, but he double dribbles.
I don't like it. I don't like it because I don't think Emory's the most skilled player on the floor to be dribbling and having to make the basketball play. You've got Lloyd, Dotson, much better handling with the basketball. Washington State now, here they go again. A quick 2 for them is good, but obviously Lacey hits the big 3 the last time. They got the players on the floor that can shoot the 3.
Shelton in trouble. Finds Woolridge.
Gotta go.
12 to play. He's taking his time.
Too much time, too much valuable time off the clock here.
Puts it up and hits! Just like they drew it up.
Need to go play here.
Singler with 4 is fouled.
Unbelievable play by Kendrick Drew. And you talk about coaches and the pressure we face where a player doesn't know the time, doesn't know the score on the floor, and makes a play. And he's looking, the score's tied. He commits the foul, and not only that, he fouls one of the best free throw shooters in the conference. And an unfortunate thing about it is Washington State has a timeout left. You may want to score that bucket to tie the game. Take the timeout and talk about defense and what you're going to do. Dana Altman, on the other hand, lets his team play and gets a huge break from Kendrick Drew with an unnecessary foul.
Singler got 1 out of 2. The last trip to the line to leave the door open for the
Before they can get to the hole, but certainly they can get over half court and get a shot up. You want to make this free throw, and then right off the bat, I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of pressure, make them handle the ball, and make them handle the ball the length of the court, take time off the clock without fouling.
Woolridge lets it go from mid-court, and another bitter loss for the Cougs. Oregon